I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. I can see most of you except for this huge sign that's in front of me. But this is fabulous. I have to say, we love our clients on Zoom and our residents, but it's always nice to have people here in the schoolhouse. So thank you all for being here. So with that, Veronica, you want to start recording? We're on. Okay, great. Would you roll call, please?
Councilmember Walter.
Present.
Councilmember Haskell. Here. Councilmember Flynn.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hefty.
Here.
Mayor Taylor.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great. Thank you, Veronica. All right. So we have 3 presentations tonight. The first one is I'm very happy to introduce our new captain for our area. So this is Captain Brandon Hensel. So Brandon, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the mic, say a few words. And I have to say, I've worked with the sheriff's office. It's very exciting. Brandon's good. I've had a chance to meet with Brandon a couple of different times. And I think we're very lucky to have him. So welcome, Brandon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and members of the community. First off, I just want to say it's truly an honor to stand here before you guys tonight as a newly appointed captain, overseeing the police services for the town of Portola Valley. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to serve this community and to work alongside all of you in keeping Portola Valley a safe, vibrant, and exceptional place to live. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised just down the road in Redwood City. So serving here is especially meaningful to me, being that this is a region that essentially grew me. And I take great pride in contributing to the well-being of the communities that shape it. In terms of my experience, I bring 22 years of service with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. Over the course of my career, I've had the privilege of working a wide range of assignments across the organization. Most recently, I was our Transit Bureau Commander, where I oversaw many complex operations involving public safety, infrastructure, and regional coordination. And each of these experiences has really given me a broad perspective on policing and reinforced the core belief that I have, and that is that strong partnerships are the foundation of effective public safety. And when it comes to Portola Valley, I've had the opportunity to work here as a deputy sheriff going back 22 years ago. This is a unique and special community known for its exceptional quality of life, its natural beauty, and its engaged residents. And I'm deeply committed to maintaining and enhancing that standard. I also recognize that every community has its own set of priorities and concerns. And my role is not only to provide service, but to make sure that I'm listening, and we as an office are listening carefully and consistently to the issues and the needs that matter most to the people who live here. And whether that's traffic safety, emergency preparedness, property crime prevention, or quality of life concerns, I and my team are committed to working collaboratively with the town leadership and the residents to address these challenges in a thoughtful and proactive way. And one of my top priorities is to ensure that the Sheriff's Office personnel are visible, accessible, and approachable. Community trust is built through relationships, and relationships are built through presence and engagement. And you will see me in the community, you will see my team in the community, and I encourage you as residents to connect with us. Share your concerns and be active partners in shaping our public safety efforts. I definitely look forward to getting involved in a lot of the community events, your neighborhood cleanups, and I think our first one is scheduled for this Saturday. And we've done those in the town of Woodside with success, and we look forward to doing them here in Portola Valley. We've started some of the planning for the Zots for Tots and the Horse Fair. These are all events that are very specific and unique to this community, and I can say that as a captain, I'm excited to take part in that and take ownership in that with the town, with the residents. I also want to emphasize my commitment to transparency, accountability, and responsiveness. These are principles that have guided how I've led my teams, how I've led the bureaus I've been responsible for, and what I plan on doing here in Portola Valley. And they're essential to maintaining that trust that this community rightfully expects and deserves. And in closing, as I stated before, I'm very excited about the work, the opportunity to work alongside each and every one of you. And I look forward to making Portola Valley a success and forward to building strong relationships, understanding what your priorities are, and continuing to work together to preserve the safety and quality of life that makes this place and this town so special. So thank you for your time, the warm welcome, and just know that I'm very excited to be here and I'm going to do everything I can to make this a great partnership and a great team.
Thank you, Brandon. So just for the public, what we do is we go through the presentations and we'll take public comment when we get to oral communications. And Brandon's agreed to stay around. So if you're on Zoom or in the room and you have questions for Brandon, that will be your opportunity to do it. But at this time, I'm going to ask, do the council members have any questions they want to ask Brandon? We had a little chance to meet with him before the meeting. Is there anything else? I think we're good. Okay, we have one question here. Go ahead, Helen.
Hi, I would love for you to stay and hear the Shawnee presentation on public comment.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's going to stay all the way through oral communications. So great, thank
Okay,
you.
thank
And
you.
we'll call you back up if we need you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next presentation is a Rose project by Wyan Friends. And there he is. Yay.
Hello, council and neighbors, I'm Wyatt Friends.
So the one problem with these mics, you see how close I'm talking to it? You have to kind of get it right up in your mouth. Otherwise people can't hear you. So just put it, there you go. Yeah, that's it. Good.
Hello, town council and neighbors. I am Wyatt Friends, a third grader at Ormondale Elementary, and I live on Shawnee Pass with my parents and 3 younger siblings. I like to bike around school and neighborhood with my friends and bike or walk to school. What is the problem? A speeding car crashed into a telephone pole a few months ago on Shawnee Pass right before Christmas, and this inspired me. The neighbors who lived there said it was dangerous. People are speeding down the street too fast at all times of day, including during school times. I want to keep the streets safe for my classmates and siblings. I'd like to tell you about the steps I followed. In January, I wrote a letter to the police department to tell them we need help with the project. My mom and I delivered the note to San Mateo County Sheriff. Then I waited a long time to hear back from the sheriff about how we could work together. Eventually, they got back to me. In February, I wrote and delivered a letter to neighbors about my project and shared that I would be doing a petition in the next few months. On Monday, March 16th at 7 a.m. before school, Deputy Nick came to my house and helped me collect data. We used a radar gun and a LiDAR speed gun, which was a lot of fun. We collected data from 53 cars and 1 bicycle. I analyzed the data with some help and came up with percentages and trends of speeding cars. I found that 68% of cars were going above the speed limit, even when a bunch of police and I were standing in my driveway pointing a radar. My teachers, the highest speeds were 39, 38, and 3 cars at 31 miles per hour. Here is the data if you'd like to see. Proposed solution. My first recommendation is speed bumps. I did research on speed bumps and found that speed bumps slow cars down 2 to 5 miles per hour, are good for school zones, parking lots, and churches, are easily installable, and can have a smooth notch to allow emergency vehicles to get through. Next, more signage on Shawnee Pass to remind drivers of the speed limit, which is 20 miles per hour. There is only 1 speed limit sign at the top of the street. Another idea in addition to these could be a crossing guard program led by kids or adults. Do you have any questions about my project or proposed solution? Thanks very much for your support.
Thank you, Wyatt. Any questions from the council? So what we can do is we can put your board maybe over here and we can take a look at it afterwards and then get it back to you, because it looks like you put a lot of work into this poster board. So it looks fabulous. So thank you for your presentation.
Could I make a quick comment?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with you. This is the example of civic responsibility, and it's fabulous that you're doing this project. And I think you're learning that government sometimes operates somewhat slowly because we have to listen to every single voice out there to make sure that what the next steps that we do don't overly affect one person or another. So I'm I'm hopeful that at some point in the next year or two, we will be able to put in some of these ideas that you've suggested to help slow down. Thank you.
Nice work. Thank you. All right. The next is a presentation update from what is maybe still called PCE, but not for long. Mark, welcome.
That's a tough presentation to follow. So do the best I can. Congratulations, Wyatt. I will definitely obey the speed rules as I drive out this evening. My name is Mark Hirschman. I'm Director of Government Affairs for Peninsula Clean Energy. I'm delighted to be here this evening, and we have a slide deck to accompany my brief update on our activities in Portola Valley and in our service territory. If we could move to the next slide, please. So Peninsula Clean Energy, which was formed 10 years ago this year, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary, was born with a few ideas in mind. One was cleaner energy, another was more affordable energy. But we've also taken some of the complexity out of energy procurement and helped cities and towns like Portola Valley to reach certain compliance needs and otherwise provide appropriate service to the community so that the cities don't have to. Just a brief reference to the diagram. I know the council's familiar with it, but there may be those in the community who aren't. We are the generation procurers, and so we are the left side of the diagram there. The energy continues to flow on PG&E wires and poles, and the bill is a consolidated bill with PG&E's name on it, comes to you, and then we're a line item for the generation charges for Peninsula Clean Energy. We serve roughly 97% of the peninsula and the town of Portola Valley. We could go to the next slide, please. So in our 10 years of service, we've provided lower costs. A bit more about that in a moment. Clean energy, we procure from only clean sources. And we've also made some infrastructure investment, including in Portola Valley, where I know the shopper is just outside the town limits, but I know a lot of residents avail themselves of the opportunity to charge their vehicles there. And then also $64,000 through a member agency grant a couple of years ago, still working with the town. And I know that's being spent to support energy efficiency at town buildings. Also want to mention that because we're a local government agency made up of all 20 cities in San Mateo County, the unincorporated county areas, and the town of Los Banos and Merced, we have a locally appointed board, and Portola Valley has appointed Mayor Taylor and Councilmember Flynn as the representatives, as the alternate. And we thank you so much for your service. And it's one of the reasons we make decisions such as how to appropriate funds that we have, including the member agency grant a couple of years ago. We could go to the next slide, please. So total savings, bill savings in the 10 years of service with Portola Valley is a little bit more than $1.4 million. That equates to 7 days of free energy, a week free energy for every consumer in Portola Valley over the course of the year. The total package of reinvestment in the community has been over $784,000. That includes a significant bill credit we gave to Karen Farah customers a few years ago. It includes many of our programs. We have interest-free loans available and as well as funds available to support people purchasing electrification equipment for their residences, heat pump water heater or heat pump HVAC. We could go to the next slide, please. But our role has changed, as mentioned, in the last 10 years. We still provide the energy, but we've also developed partnerships with the communities, and we do our best to listen to what the communities are seeking and try to provide those programs and services and do what we can to keep the rates affordable. Next slide, please. And now we're in our 10th year. Looking ahead, the board has voted to continue the 10% rate discount. So that's 10% less than what PG&E is currently charging. That's through the end of this fiscal year, which ends at the end of June. The board will take up those issues as we consider the budget later this year. We have a new solar and storage program that we plan to be rolling out later this year. So can't share too much about that, but just wanted to tease it a little bit. We also have some upcoming EV fleet opportunities and look forward to working with the town on that. I know there's been some interest, and we have our 10-year anniversary celebration coming up. We could go to the next slide, please. And the exciting news that brings me here this evening, in addition to the 10th anniversary, is that the board has voted to change the name to Westlight Energy. And a little bit of discussion about that at tomorrow night's board meeting, if you want to tune in, 6:30 on your local channel. But nothing else is changing. It's still the same great agency. We still intend to have the same great services. It's just the name change. And we've done that for several reasons. One is that our current name is a little bit clunky, and for many people is just difficult for them to pronounce. A lot of people confuse the word peninsula with Pennsylvania, especially if they're new to the area. There is confusion with PG&E because people use the acronym PCE, and so many people put PC and E. We also have expanded our territory. As I mentioned, we are now in Merced County. We serve the town of Los Banos. And so Peninsula doesn't entirely represent who we currently are, at least geographically. So if we go to the next slide, which is the next to last slide. So on your agenda this evening is a request to ratify the board-approved name change to Westlight Energy so that your documents conform with ours. We're going to all 22 jurisdictions, and you're the 12th in the tour. And then once we do that, we would really appreciate your assistance in helping to get that word out to your constituents. And if we could perhaps work on a joint letter or something with Letterhead City, because we know you're such a trusted operation and community partners. So people getting that would understand that it really is happening and that we are the same agency, and it would communicate clearly. But I expect that you might get a call or two because it'll show up on the bills starting midsummer, and somebody may want to know what Westlight Energy is. So one of the reasons we're here this evening is to prepare you for that and to let you know that we're aware of those difficulties, and we'll be reaching out in the coming weeks with more information to help you respond to those questions. But by all means, please send them our way if somebody gives you a call. And then we're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary, and a lot of exciting activities coming, including what we think will be a very exciting policy forum at the end of September, and so hopefully bringing together the community and celebration and learning. And I think that's the last slide, other than our last slide, which is thanks to you from our team at Peninsula Clean Energy. I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions from the council for Mark? Judith?
Just a quick one. The same entity, just a name change, right?
Correct. Yes,
Thank you.
that's it.
No?
No, I think it's very clear. Keep up the good work. Sounds like success.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Rebecca?
Is there a particular date where you're planning to do the launch of the new name, or?
You could say there are many dates because this is actually a really complex and difficult thing to do. It's a heavy lift because we are regulated. I shouldn't say regulated. We are within the orbit of the Public Utilities Commission. So there's certain things that have to be filed there. There are things that have to be filed in other places. But one of the critical items is the billing, so that the line on your bill that says Peninsula Clean Energy will change to Westlight Energy. And we anticipate that will happen as bills roll out in July. So for most people, that's going to be their first awareness of what's happening. But the board is probably going to take action as a result of what you're doing here tonight and the other jurisdictions are doing at the May board meeting, where it becomes official. And then we can go to PG&E and say, okay, it's been approved. You can do this. But it's really dominoes. Each one has to fall first before the next one can go down.
And you requested that we notify our constituents. Is there a particular date that makes sense for that?
So we would love to work with you and your staff to put together a joint letter with everybody's logo on it that says, here's what we're planning to do. So we're hoping to have that for you in May or June.
The logo has been finalized, or that's still,
I'm sorry.
the logo has been finalized, or is that still a work in
No,
process?
but oh, thank you for that. Please tune in tomorrow night. It's on our agenda for the board. And so the color scheme and the logo and all those things will be on the agenda for tomorrow evening. So thank you for that.
Helen?
Thanks. I realize that that some of these issues are actually board issues, but I did want to just put a plug for the member agency grants, $64,000 that the Portola Valley got. I hope board members, nudge, nudge, that we get some future money again back. So I wanted to put a plug for that, as well as in terms of the upcoming EV fleet opportunities. Obviously, the town of Portola Valley does not have a state, at least 10 fleet vehicles to qualify as a fleet. So I hope that we still can qualify for some opportunities there.
I'm not aware that we have a number for fleet, whether that if there's a definition of what constitutes a fleet. I think that's just a term of art that we're using. So not a legal term.
Okay, because under the Becker's bill, for instance, it's
Yep.
that the conversion to EV or to electric, it was fleets of 10 or more.
I'll have to look into that. I'm just not familiar with that definition. I don't know that we use that as a
Great.
yeah.
I hope,
And,
yes, I hope we still qualify. So,
That would if not, we should talk.
okay, sounds
But
good.
I just want to mention regarding the jurisdiction grant was a couple of years ago when, and just an example of how we operate. We had funds and the question was how to get them back to the consumers, the people who are using the energy. And so we had a $300 bill credit for all CARE and FARA customers in our service territory. And because it was a bill credit, it could be applied to the gas and the electric. And if somebody didn't use it all up in the first bill they received, it would carry over to the next one. So CARE FARA customers are those who meet a certain standard of need. And so that was done. And this was all board decision. This was all committee was formed. How do we get this back to folks? And so understanding the needs of the communities, it was a proportional distribution to the jurisdictions, and 64,000 was how it penciled out for Portola Valley. We have other grant programs available and would love to talk with you and your staff about applying for those.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is the town manager report.
Okay, good evening, Darcy Smith, Town Manager. I have a presentation with just a few pictures. Just give me a second. So it'll come up. We are running a community survey on our town website. So I hope folks who have not participated can participate in that. And we have some upcoming town events. As the captain mentioned, we have an exciting town cleanup this Saturday. So spring cleaning. Then we have the horse fair. Yes, there will be real horses there and ponies on May 16th. And we have announced our dates for our summer concert series, which are Thursday nights here at Town Hall, July 9th, August 6th, and September 10th. The PV Palooza, which has been moved to the end of August this year, is August 29th. And then the most exciting event of the year, in my opinion, the Town Picnic and the Zots to Tots, which is both a race/walk and a bike ride, is Saturday, September 19th. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. But more exciting, we are relaunching the newsletter, the Portola Valley Post, right here. So it's in production and it's going to be mailed to all residents. You might recall we had this about 20 years ago, so it's coming back and it will cover town news and information, special events. And I know it's a little bit old fashioned, but I have been asked by a lot of people to bring it back as a source to provide information. We'll be doing it quarterly. Next, some of you, unfortunately, are aware that we had a power outage around April 18th that caused some major AV failure in this at Town Hall and in the schoolhouse. And we had some challenges which are with our community meetings. I think it was actually the 13th through the 15th, including the Open Space Committee. And thank you, Betsy Morgenthaler, for working an AV system that wasn't cooperating. We appreciate that. But I'm pleased to report it has been resolved, and we're getting a backup battery system for the AV here, so that shouldn't happen again in the future. It feels like we are literally cursed in this schoolhouse. The other exciting news, is why I wanted to show it to you, is these darling goats are at the Priory, and there's a lot of them. This is sort of the before on the left with all the goats, and the right. They do a lot of work, and they're really mowing the grass out there. So MJ Lee, who's our wildfire preparedness chair, went out, took a bunch of pictures. She's planning an update. She's also working with their science team to analyze the effectiveness of the goats, but they're quite darling. So if you haven't seen them, go out and take a look. And last but not least, we are working hard on the town audits. So I just want to give a quick update. You know, we've completed the 21-22 audit. We're working on the 22-23 audit, and that has been scheduled for Finance Committee review May 19th. And then our town continues to work on the rest of the audits, which will be completed depending on the completion of the next audit. So that concludes my town manager report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Darcy. Thanks for the report and thanks for the great presentation. Any questions from the council for Darcy before I move to oral communications? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move to oral communication. So this is an opportunity for the public to speak on any of the presentation. So if you want to ask a question of Captain Hensel, you can do that. If you want to ask a question of Wyatt, you can do that. Or if you want to ask a question of Mark, I think he's still here. Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's hiding behind Captain. So, or the town manager, all of those are open right now. So is there anybody in the schoolhouse that would ask a question or have a comment? All right, so seeing none in the schoolhouse. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed. Yes, for sure. Let me go through those three, because that way I can let them go. And then I'll open it up for general non-agenda items. That would be great. But thank you for asking. Okay, so there is one hand up online. So it's a phone number that ends in 733. You could just let us know your name. You have to unmute. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry,
Not
there may be a
super
little
loud.
bit of background noise. I will do my best. Is that better?
That's good. We turned the volume up here. We're good. Sounds like Ed.
Okay, thank you. This is Ed Holland. I am simultaneously chair of Bicycle, Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee and also Assistant Sheriff Commissioner. So I would like to start with a comment to Brandon. Thank you very much for your presentation. I look forward to working closely with you on matters related to the Sheriff's Department with Portola Valley, and I look forward to having an introduction and a face-to-face meeting as soon as we're able. Thank you very much for joining our team, as it were. Secondly, thank you again to Wyatt for bringing your presentation to the council. You did such a great job at BPTS. I was very pleased to see you encouraged to bring the same thing to town council, and I think do an even better job. Our committee door is always open, so, you know, with the council's blessing, I would love to work more with you on your ideas and encourage you to carry that and learn more about joining in with all the good civic duties that many of us enjoy at Portola Valley. So, Brandon, thank you again. That was a really great job. Thank you, everybody.
I think you have a future member of BPTS.
I hope so.
Okay, let me see if we have any other hands online. I don't see any other hands online. So I just wanted to thank everybody for your presentations. You're all welcome to leave now. I'm going to continue oral communication, and you're welcome to stay and see how public government works for as long as you like. But this is a good opportunity to take a break if you want to run for the door. So again, thank you, everyone. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, that's up to you guys. I wouldn't mind seeing it. We can save it and make sure it gets back to you. Yeah, yeah, we won't let it get lost. Thank you, Wyatt. Okay, with that, I'd like to continue oral communications. So is there anyone in the schoolhouse that would like to speak on something that wasn't one of the presentations? Nona.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. I'm here speaking as an individual to draw attention to the recommendation of the Open Space Committee that the town engage with MidPen and let them know that the parking options in the draft Hawthorns area plan, a 50-car parking lot in the Alpine Scenic Corridor, would have impacts on Portola Valley that are unacceptable to the town. To illustrate that this is not what we should expect from MidPen, I'll read from the document that launched the Hawthorns planning process. A quote, "The 79-acre Hawthorns area is located near the intersection of Alpine Road and Portola Road and is one of the last remaining islands of open space in the town. It is subject to a conservation easement granted in 2005 by the Woods Family Trust to the Peninsula Open Space Trust. Their participation throughout the planning process will be key in ensuring consistency with the terms stipulated in the conservation easement." Continuing with quotes, "Hillsides within the Hawthorns area are visible from adjacent town neighborhoods. Alpine Road, which borders the western boundary, is a designated scenic corridor. The town's 2001 Alpine Scenic Corridor Plan protects the natural beauty along Alpine Road and limits development that would visually affect this corridor. The town has requested that the district and town work together to realign and widen portions of the lower Alpine Road Trail adjacent to the Hawthorns area. This planning process will incorporate the requested realignment as part of the trail development." The statements I've just quoted are from MidPen's framing of Hawthorns planning 5 years ago. Next month, the MidPen board will consider a plan in which the Alpine Scenic Corridor will be scarred unnecessarily by a 50-car parking lot. The busiest intersection in town would become even busier, and Alpine Trail would be altered only by adding a jog around the parking lot entrance. I'm not a lawyer, but I can't see how MidPen's design is consistent with the conservation easement, which prohibits excavation, grading, removing trees, and other actions that would degrade the property's scenic and natural character. Our town residents have proposed better ideas for parking so that the public can access and enjoy the beauty and historic character of the Hawthorns. I urge you to act on the Open Space Committee's recommendation. Thank you. And in honor of Earth Day, I've brought you a Trillium.
Thank you, Nona. Betsy?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Hello, council members and staff. I wish I had Wyatt here because he could do this even better. I am speaking tonight to advocate for your advocacy of the Portola Valley values that we all share and hold dear, namely our general plan and our municipal code, and specifically at Hawthorns and in the face of MidPen plans to cover the open hillside meadow across from the hardware store with a sweeping parking lot proposed to be at a level of 2.5 stories higher than Alpine Road. Let's notice Mid-Penn. Let's let the town notice Mid-Penn and flag the serious issues that affect both the two proposed options, 9 and 10, including the numerous violation of town ordinances, plus the required rezoning of what is now residential estates, 3.5 to be exact. Efficiency would argue for coming to terms with the gross misalignments prior to the of CEQA, though that is not what Mid-Penn plans. By contrast, a healthy Mid-Penn Portola Valley Hawthorns process would provide a venue for Portola Valley's public, committee, and commissioner input along the way, just as we have done successfully with Stanford. Portola Valley and Stanford did not backload input on the Stanford Terraces project to the last few weeks. It observed a robust process along the way, incorporating our comments throughout the procedure, and it is much the better for it. To have done otherwise would have been a public relations problem for both entities, and one that we can afford to avoid. It is time to engage legal representation expeditiously. Let's approach Mid-Penn now. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right, are there any other hands in the schoolhouse? I don't see any. You're not raising your hand for public comment, I hope.
I am, but I'll wait till you cover everyone else.
Okay, I mean, this is for the public's oral
Well, I'm
communication.
public too.
Okay, I mean, if you'd like to get up and speak to the mic, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Rebecca Flynn. I just wanted to let the community know that the Friends of Portola Valley Library and the Portola Valley Library are sponsoring a large number of events at the end of this month and in May about, it's called the One Book, One Coast program. And it's the largest book club on the West Coast. And this year we're going to be reading George Takei's book, which is called They Called Us Enemies. It's a graphic novel, so it's very accessible to many, many people. So I'm encouraging everybody to participate in this, and you can actually download the electronic version if you'd like from the library for free, or you can ask to check out some of the numerous copies that are available. And I just want to let you know that some of the activities that are happening soon, on Sunday, April 26th, there's going to be the kickoff, and it's going to include an ebook workshop so that those who do not know how to download books will be provided with training for that, as well as learn about all of the fantastic research that we have at our library. And then there's going to be an initial book discussion on Sunday, May 17th at the library. And then there'll be a number of fantastic events, including Japanese dance. Another author is coming to the library to speak on her book, an origami book box project. And then finally, on May 31st is going to be the watch party where you will get to meet George Takei, who will be live streaming from Los Angeles. So I hope the community can participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Sure. Wow. This is the night when all the council members have to do public comment. I love it. So
Thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're almost to May, so I wanted everyone to know, May is Bike to Everywhere month, and they'll be having Energizer stations throughout the Bay Area where you can pick up free swag and pick up snacks along the way. So they're encouraging people to get out of bikes and ride. And May 14th, it's a Thursday, is Bike to Work Day. So I just wanted to flag that. We're not going to have council meeting until well into May. So I wanted to flag that for everyone. Thank you.
thank you, Helen. All right. So I see no more hands in the schoolhouse. I see one hand online. Christy?
Yes, I wanted to let people know that the California Coastal Conservatory is having a meeting tomorrow, Thursday, April 23rd, 10 o'clock. And there's many things on the agenda, one being the Bay Area Loop Trail. So I encourage people to go and voice their opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other hands in the schoolhouse. I don't see any other hands online, so I'm going to close oral communications and move on to the consent agenda. So with the consent agenda, remind me when we take public comment in this, like right now. Good. Okay. Before the council decides what to pull. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So is there anyone who would like to comment on the consent agenda? All right. I don't see anyone in the schoolhouse. I don't see anyone online. So I'm going to bring it back. So are there any council members that would like to pull consent agenda items? I see no, and no. Okay. Then I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Consent agenda is approved. We will now move on to the regular agenda. So the first item on the regular agenda is the capital improvement plan and associated budget presentation by none other than our finance director. With computer in hand. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you and good evening, Council. Tonight's item is a overview of the 26-27 Capital Improvement Program budget. We're just going to be reviewing the projects that will be carrying over from 25-26 into 26-27. And with the addition of one new project that's currently been identified. But as a result of this presentation and discussion, the council wishes to add another project for consideration. We can take that suggestion tonight. But tonight's item is just to kind of review the 25-26 CIP projects and then what's going to be in development for 26-27. So let me share my screen. That is not what I was looking for. There we go. Okay. Okay, so just a quick overview. We're going to review the projects for each category. And a reminder of those categories is roads and right-of-way, parks and fields, open space, building and facilities. Then there'll be an opportunity for questions, discussion, and then direction from council. So a review of the 26-27 council priorities. First one being financial responsibility and long-term viability. Second one being safety. Third being operational efficiency and effectiveness. responsible land use, community, and environmental sustainability. The projects that are currently in the CIP were developed with these priorities in mind. And looking at some of the community needs that we've identified, wildfire prevention is our largest need. Storm drains, street resurfacing, trail maintenance, and then we'll also have to address aging facilities and an aging vehicle fleet. So looking at the 25-26 CIP, we had a budget of 1.3 million. We've currently spent about 107,000 towards the CIP projects. The largest expense has been the Ford Field bathroom design. We spent about 48,000 of the 51,000 of that. And then town hall IT upgrades is almost 39,000. Some of the other projects, some issues have come up, changed the scope of some of the projects, and they've been delayed, also with just staffing resources as well. But we'll review those further. So there's currently 9 active projects with a budget of 1.3 million and actual spent of 107,000. So looking at roads and right of way, for street resurfacing, we've identified about $2.2 million worth of resurfacing areas from now until 27, 28. The one thing about street resurfacing, we do have adequate funding for these projects. We do receive gas tax, SB1 funding, and also Measure A, Measure M, Measure W. So we have a significant war chest, so to speak, in regards to street resurfacing. So it will be an ongoing project for the next 2 to 3 years. And any items not spent in 25-26 will carry over to 2027. There is one new project as a result of street resurfacing. There are some minor ADA curb ramp improvements. Those have been isolated from the current resurfacing project, and we've created or dedicated a second project for these items. The budget is $60,000, $50,000 for construction, $10,000 for design, and we're operating impact is expected about $10,000 of staff time. This will be a new project for 26-27, and as I stated earlier, we do have sufficient funding for street resurfacing. Storm drain repairs. This is an annual allotment. We do $20,000 per year. And fortunately, we've not had to have any emergency storm drain repairs this year. So the $20,000 will carry over until 26-27. Looking at parks and field maintenance, we have 2 projects. One's the Ford Field bathroom. We have a feasibility study that's going to be due by July 2026. There's also a $181,000 grant that needs to be spent by fiscal year 27-28. We have identified operational costs, about $40,000 of staff time. However, with the completion of this project, should it continue, will include ongoing utility and maintenance costs that we have yet to determine what those will be. The other project is the town courts resurfacing. That court is currently being held up, or it's on hold, excuse me. It's pending the outcome of the feasibility study for the bathroom project. But this project is currently budgeted $35,000 but it has been identified for funding through PV fund. But depending on the feasibility study with the PV bathroom, or with the bathroom, excuse me, we'll be coming back to council with some direction on that project. And the feasibility study is basically going to determine how much it's going to cost to install the bathroom at that location. Moving on to open space improvements, Valley Oak Trail Bridges. The original 25-26 budget identified the costs of about $71,000 and was going to be funded by an insurance claim. However, additional information has been determined since the adoption of that budget. It's requiring a rescope of the project, requiring surveys of the actual bridge locations, and continued discussions with the homeowners in the area. Town manager and myself will be meeting with the PB Ranch folks on Monday. We'll be providing further information on this project before the budget is adopted in June. The other project we have is the annual trail rehabilitation budget. We've done about $15,000 per year. This year we budgeted $20,463. The difference being the amount remaining from the Shady Trail donation from prior year. And as I stated, this is an annual allotment from the CIP project fund. So we'll be doing $20,463 and it'll be carrying over for 26, 27. Looking at buildings and facilities, as was mentioned earlier, we do have a $64,000 grant from Peninsula Clean Energy, about to be known as Westlight Energy. And this is for efficiency upgrades that include focusing on lighting efficiencies, replacing aging incandescent lighting to LED systems. Initial review has been completed. Public Works staff is currently evaluating fixture specification and options, and we'll be testing a pilot fixture within the next couple of months. So we're looking to, if this fund will be carrying, or this amount will be carrying over into 26, 27, if there are any expenses incurred prior to the end of the fiscal year. Town Hall IT upgrades, we had allotted $50,000 for those projects. We've completed about $39,000. In conjunction with this, we're looking to have this project completed prior to the end of the year. But the town has also issued an RFP for IT services. And this will also have an impact on the schoolhouse IT project, which is the other facility project in this category. So looking at the schoolhouse IT upgrades, it was going to be a complete replacement of all IT equipment in the schoolhouse. This project is deferred until the new IT service provider can prepare an analysis of town needs and make recommendations. But we should have some more information in regards to these projects prior to the budget being adopted in June. The other project is EV charging stations. This is a grant from MTC. Currently, we're coordinating with Half Moon Bay, San Carlos, and East Palo Alto. An MOU will be brought to the council in June. Combining resources using economies of scale should help keep reduce costs. There'll be a single RFP for design and project manager services, and we're anticipating work to start fall of 2026. So this will be a project for 26, 27. So in looking at the 26, 27 initial schedule, 6 active projects, 3 deferred projects, about $1.45 million. And there's a breakdown of the different funds that the budget will be allocated to. So that concludes my report. So I yield it back to council for questions.
Thank you, Tony. Are there questions for Tony? We'll do this discussion afterwards, but any questions on the presentation or about the CIP? Judith?
Yeah, I probably should know this, but when you're giving the line items and then you see operational impact and other, how are the staff costs accounted for when we eventually see the whole budget?
We're estimating total hours, and then we're multiplying it by the hourly rate for each employee that's involved in the project.
But that feeds into the other operational budget.
Right, those are,
has
yeah,
nothing-
payroll, staff time is funded through the general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
Are any of the road funds sort of a use it or lose it, or have a deadline to use them? Okay.
No, those are annual annual allocations, receive them on a monthly basis.
And if I was reading the tables correctly, it looked like no money from the capital budget was actually spent on trails this year. It was all based on or Shady Trail. Is that there was no additional money?
Yeah, that was last year. The Shady Trail was last year.
So this year, nothing was spent.
Nothing's been done yet. No.
Okay. And then for the PC, the Westlight Energy Grant, you said a review has been completed. Could you go in a little bit more detail of what exactly that entailed and what the plan, what the idea is for?
An electrician came in and identified where efficiencies could be reached in regards to fixtures being replaced. But mostly with lighting. We have some incandescent lighting within town hall. So we'll be replacing those with some LED lights.
With some LED.
Lights, so that'll be reduced cost, more energy efficient.
So you just looked at town hall. You didn't look at the other building.
Well, yeah, throughout the.
Oh.
Just identifying the incandescent lights are specifically in town hall in the first conference room. You can see them. They're pretty big.
So fixtures have to be replaced. That's what the recommendation is. You can't just put a bulb, an LED bulb up there.
In some instances, yes, maybe, but others they'll be replacing the fixture.
Because it's like a fluorescent, maybe. Oh, I see. Okay.
Helen?
Thanks as always, Tony.
Thank you.
A couple of questions. Could I get clarification? I keep hearing different things on the court resurfacing project and PV fund. And I can't ever remember. So thank you.
Yeah, we're taking a step back, taking a deep breath on that project. It's just, there's too many people with their recommendations. And I think we really need to scope the project out and determine what exactly needs to be done. And also we've got the Ford Field bathroom project as well. They're kind of competing interests at the time, specifically staff time, our capacity. So we're going to wait for the feasibility study on the bathroom so that we can actually have an idea how much this is actually going to cost. And then council will have a decision whether to move forward with that or rededicate some funds towards the court's resurfacing project.
Okay. And going back to Ford Field, July 26, which is we lose that grant though.
No, we have until January 2028.
28. Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you. I'm not done.
Okay. And can I just add one thing to it's related to your question. One thing, the town manager has changed the priorities on the courts so that court 2 is now priority for pickleball. So I think that's helped alleviate some of the immediate, not a total solution, but at least a partial step. So I just wanted to add that. Keep going.
Okay. Thanks. And just remind me, the open space fund, our UUT open space fund, was any of that money used for maintenance and operations this year? Just remind me. No. Okay. And then trail maintenance also, I was out on Toyon Trail on Saturday in the trail center. There was a huge group of trail maintenance, out on that trail and
would have been volunteers.
Yep. Volunteers. Do you happen, obviously your finance, but do you happen to know if we are using volunteers on a regular basis on any of the trail system?
I believe so, but I don't know specifically.
Okay. Let me make sure. Okay. And then lastly, the EV charger, the $64,777 match. Just to confirm, it can be staff time.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I identified the general fund. So it'll be staff time.
Yeah.
And they've also identified some incentives and credits that could also be used for the match.
Okay, thanks. I actually do have one more question. The storm drain repairs. Obviously we're budgeting $20,000 when our storm drain repairs are quite aged at this point. We're expecting, they're saying, a super El Nino year.
Okay.
Do you have any past data on how much we had to spend in other big years by any chance? I know you haven't been with the town that long.
I do not. I would have to do some research on that.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Mary?
Well, I'm still struggling with the Valley Oak Trail bridges, and I understand, I appreciate your updating us on the insurance. How many years can we go before claiming the insurance? Have we claimed it? Is it in process?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't.
Okay. It's anywhere between 2 and 3 years. I'm bothered by the fact that trail rehabilitation in Valley and the trail bridges are labeled as open space. I wonder how hard it would be to change the categories of how
Opted under open space. It's been under open space for.
it's been adopted.
It's been in the budget
Okay.
for 2 years at least as open space.
I don't understand that. Could you explain that?
I haven't changed the category. It's been this category for
Is it possible to change the category?
it's not
The
roads.
trails, or
No, it's,
sidewalks, whatever.
I have 4 categories and that's the one it fits under.
Okay. Parks and trails, parks and fields. Yeah, could it be under, could trails be under? Yeah, anyway, I think it's a little bit confusing. And I certainly hope we can get these bridges fixed someday. That's my thought. To just looking at them, they appear to be sidewalks.
Hey, Mary, I just remind you, we're still doing questions.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep you in.
I'm trying to see, ask the question of how hard it would be to change the categories.
I would defer to council. If council would like me to change the category, I would change the category.
Anything else, Mary? Okay, thank you. I had a couple of questions. How much do we have in the CIP fund? Or is it, it's like
Oh,
three
the capital projects.
capital projects? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's like 300,000 or something?
It's actually about 4.
4, okay.
Yeah.
And I know that's a little complicated because when we look at all the capital improvement projects, a lot of them are paid for from other funds
Right.
besides that one. That's kind of our general fund that's,
Yeah.
we move money in there for capital stuff. So that's why that number's much smaller than
Mhm.
the total projects. The other one was, we talked about basically the pickleball courts and Ford Field and stuff. I mean, one opportunity we have is if revenue enhancement passes, we could have a mid-year budget adjustment on these things. I mean,
Absolutely.
okay, great. And I think for now, that's my questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could I ask one more? Sorry.
Of course. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Could you just clarify again, under the Parks and Rec, the 2 different projects? We have Ford Field and we have the courts. Ford Field lists 51,000 this year. Is that that's the full feasibility study cost, right? And it's listed as design. Does that actually also include the design of?
No, it's part of the design.
It's only part. So we'll need more money to.
Right. So when we
do
come
that.
back, we'll have more information and hopefully
Okay,
more-
so,
more costs associated with the actual main construction.
okay, so then we would need to put more
Right.
under 26,
That will be the
27.
decision council will have to make. Yeah.
Okay, and then under the courts, please remind me there too, we budgeted 35,000 and we're doing some type of survey or something there or
No,
what's?
the survey is for the bridges.
Oh, I mean, not survey's the wrong word. We're doing some analysis of those courts or no?
No, we've switched the priority for courts. And then we're actually starting to clean the courts on a regular basis, spraying them down. But we really need to scope the project out a little bit more than what we have in the past. So that's why I'm saying we're taking a pause and we want to do a really complete, how much is this actually going to cost us? And then come back with what the cost is going to be for adopting the budget in 26, 27.
Okay, so you would anticipate something going into the 26, 27, would that come out of this 35,000 or that's
Well, it might be
completely
more.
separate? I'm just thinking in terms of doing this assessment of the quality of the surface and potential design. There would be a budget for that, and then there would be the final budget for what the actual construction is. And are you anticipating some money going into 26, 27 for that, or that's completely up in the air because of our financial situation?
It depends on how it's going to be funded. So, but I would anticipate coming back with more information. And yes, it could be, we're spending X amount of dollars this year, and we're going to need to spend X amount of dollars next year.
But we do have money available to do sort of the assessment.
So we do, but for the actual construction, that was initially saying, or at the mid-year, that was determined to be a PV fund fundraising.
Okay.
We're taking a pause.
And then one last question was the library trust fund that we have kind of hanging on to, that's sort of there. It was like 75,000 or something.
No, it's a little bit lower than that because we've been spending money. But we get reimbursed for those costs through the county. And I believe we have over $1 million that the county's holding for the library.
Okay.
Based on the last letter I remember seeing that was a few months ago.
So can any of those funds be used towards some capital improvements, that
Library.
at the library? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So I would now open up to public comment. Is there anybody here? So in the audience, Bob, come on up to the mic.
This conversation will be about the court, something new that you'll hear from me. 2 or 3 things. First, the community is very excited about the courts having been cleaned. That was we haven't seen that for, literally years. So thank you. We're very appreciative. Just so you know, Court 2 thing is working great, and I have not heard any complaints about it. And I can tell you that the pickleball people are ecstatic. So those are all 2 very good things. Now to the one that's not quite so good, and that is funding for the court project. And looking at the suggestion, it says $35,000. But that's not from the town. That's from citizens. And so it essentially says 0. And I'm not being critical of 0 because the town is under really financial strain, and I fully understand that. I was in finance, I understand the numbers. My hope is that if we get November 3rd passed, that this will be reviewed shortly thereafter, and we might get some money. I can tell you it will be very hard to raise money entirely for any project, for 35,000 or 80,000, for us to do it all. But we are certainly willing to be partners in making sure that it happens if we can. So I'm just asking and letting you know in advance that we do understand that it's essentially 0 for us right now. My hope is I will go back to the pickleball community and do all I can to get them to politic to pass November's ballot measure. And I understand that there's a lot of leverage enabled for us to be able to do that, and I will do everything in my power to do it. So I don't have complete control over all these people, but I can suggest things and they understand. So these are not slow people that don't understand what's happening. They're very clear on it. The only thing they need is some re-education on that black line. And I think you all understand what I mean by that. The other thing, one thing I did notice in the material was that you had $20,000 for staff time. I don't see anywhere close to that kind of a number, but I'm not saying it's not going to be. I just don't see a number even close to that for what we're going to do. Since we know what the resurfacing is, and we have a pretty good idea what's going to happen with the second phase, I don't see where that number comes from, but you may have some different view of that. And then the last one is to raise money, you need to have a project committee. The project committee needs to have at least 3 people. One of them is from Parks and Rec, and that would be to represent all the users. Probably one from pickleball because they're the majority of users. And the third would be from town, and that's probably Tony, at least as far as our interface. So that's something that I think we should do. I brought this up to the Park and Recs last night. they didn't do anything, which surprised me because I thought we should get the committee going to get organized so we know what we're doing at the time and not take a lot of his time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in the schoolhouse? All right, then I'm going to move online. Karen Askey, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi. So I am a member of the Parks and Rec Committee, and I wanted to share the Parks and Rec view, which is we realize the town doesn't have the money, but we do feel strongly that should the parcel tax measure pass, that the council reconsider and fund the court resurfacing project in the next year. And I think that there's a misunderstanding of what a court resurfacing is. There's a lot of cracks on the court. It makes play hard, and it also is a safety issue. All of that has to be done. And then the painting is a different issue of where the lines go. So I also agree with Bob, as I don't understand the $20,000 of staff time, because you issue a request for proposal to companies that do this work, and they come back with their bids and we choose, and they're doing the work. So it would be, I would like to know more about the breakdown of the staff time costs for that. The other thing, and the reason we want to wait and see what happens with the ballot measure. That's where Parks and Rec is with that. The other thing is, I don't really understand the $40,000 for staff time for the Ford project, and if that's for the entire project or just for the phase one, which is the landscape architects doing the feasibility design. If we're spending $48,000 for the consultants and $40,000 of our staff time, I'm concerned. And I also don't really understand why I guess what I'm hearing is the courts are being held up due to the Ford project, and that there's not enough staff time to focus on it. And I'm just a little confused on that, because we are using third parties for both of those projects. Thanks.
Thank you, Karen. And the one correction I would make is I don't think we're looking at a parcel tax. We're looking at a real. So, okay, any other public comment before I close and bring it back to the council? So I don't see any other hands in the schoolhouse or online. So I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. So Helen, would you like to lead us off? Someday you're going to have to be first, you know. All right. Who would like to go first? Mary, thank you. Okay, that's an easy first. All right, Judith.
I kind of would like to understand how the staff time was allocated. I'm not questioning it. I think an explanation would be helpful so people understand. It's my guess is that it's not either or outsourced or internal. Anytime you have an outsourced issue, you have to cover it. But if I don't know who that question is best answered by.
So it's not just, it's every time an email is sent, every time a meeting is held. We've had multiple conversations with Parks and Rec Committee members, Darcy, and Darcy is the highest hourly rate for the town. So it adds up, and it's for it's not only Darcy, it's myself, it's Justin, it's Robert. So these times they compound. And so the 40,000 for the Ford Field bathroom is for the entire project.
Okay.
20,000 is a conservative estimate based on the conversations we've had just over these two projects. And also want to add that the town, when the budget was first adopted, we were using town funds for the court resurfacing project that was switched to the bathroom. So we have made commitments to Parks and Rec. We do have a Park and Loo fund just for this very purpose. But it just, we have not had been able to come to a consensus on any other one of these projects. But every time there's an email or there's a meeting, the meter's running. And so that's why these costs are adding up.
And it sounds like they're not totally projected, but you've looked at what staff time has already
Yep.
been required and extrapolated out.
Yep.
So there's a basis in what's actually going on so
Yes.
far.
And-
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
And Judith, could I just ask a sort of follow on to, are you guys thinking about project management as well? Because I mean, as we get more of these projects, I'm wondering like how they get managed, and is
Yeah.
is it all assistant town manager and town engineer, or do we get project management? I mean, I know there's been some conversation.
So yeah, we have project management in place for street resurfacing, but we're also considering for some of our other projects as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Rebecca, are you ready to go?
This is discussion, right?
This is discussion. Yes, ma'am. You can even still ask questions.
I
if you want,
realize that, but
it's-
nobody
it's-
else was giving their opinion. Oh, it's
Yeah,
like-
no, this is definitely discussion. and
No.
opinion.
All right. Tony, I really appreciate all the work that you've put into this. This is
Thank you.
really excellent. I think the town is doing a very good job in managing what limited funds we have. And if I'm understanding the final improvement program that you have up here, it looks like we're talking about having $65,000 for the EV charging stations that's coming out of our general fund. In terms of, it may not just be cash, it may actually be, as you said, staff time and other things. And then if I follow this correctly, I'm not 100% I didn't look up which fund numbers corresponded to what, but capital projects is 202,000 is what you have here.
Mhm.
That would be kind of our general fund, but we've set the money aside.
Yeah, that's the monies we've set aside.
So that is, the rest is either grants or measures or whatever. So we're not hitting our bottom line, if
Right.
you will. So it seems a conservative projection, a conservative plan to me. It seems quite reasonable. There's two areas that I'd like for us to think a little bit about, and you'll have to tell me if it's even remotely feasible or whatever. But under the Westlight Energy Grant, where you have done this work on changing out fixtures, I would like to suggest that instead we use a big chunk of that money towards backup battery storage. Because I think at this point, it's more important for me to have the town center be more resilient in the face of so many PG&E crashes and what have you, and copper thefts and whatever. To me, it would be more important to have our town facilities be a little bit more secure with battery backup. So I would prefer that the funds went to that. Is there any feasibility of changing that? I mean, it doesn't negate the work that's been gone into the fixtures. That's obviously something that we certainly should do when we have more funding, and kind of that to me is less important than having a more resilient town hall and town center.
Mhm.
Is that something at all that we could consider?
Well, we currently have a backup generator, but it's for the library, town center, or town hall and community center. We're going to be putting in backup batteries here. But I mean, we can look at other options as well.
Because certainly with Westlight Energy, they do have a program where quite a few other municipalities have gotten a whole solar array, but now they're also going back and putting in battery storage. So it may be something where we could actually work off of their expertise to help us. And a suggestion was made to me that perhaps to lighten the load a bit on the staff is that perhaps it might be a good project for the town council subcommittee on safety and resilience to take up and to kind of think a little bit more about what would best serve the town for this grant. If that made sense, if it made sense to take, we could do the investigation with Westlight. Craig and I are both serve with the board. We're familiar with the people. So it might ease up a little bit on initial staff time before we could send it off. But I don't know if that's a potential options. And then I also guess, because it would also deal with the library, would we be able to use a little bit of the library funding
Mhm.
for that project?
It's a possibility. If it's worked for the library, whatever portion is the library, whatever percentage, we can probably allocate the cost out that way. We can look at all those options that you're suggesting.
And then my other suggestion would be, again, in terms of resilience, as well as, it was the last item on the initial thing. We do have an aging fleet, and the idea of getting a Ford Lightning truck, which also has a huge backup battery that can be used to power whatever in the event of a failure. Perhaps that also should be something that we could think about, given if we had funding from PCE or whatever. But that to me would kill two birds with one stone. And also having the battery backup, just in general, going back to that idea, could be used to lower our expenses as well if we arbitrage the time of use. So we would also be able to eventually lower some expenses. So that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you. Helen?
Thank you. So I will follow up with what Rebecca said about, battery, especially for emergencies. I think I am concerned that we already went down the path of doing the light bulbs. But with Mark Hirschman's presentation tonight, many of the things, the solar that they're putting in for other cities, that were power purchase agreements. And so they're following up with batteries. So I think sometimes we get overlooked, but they are a great asset. So I'd love, to make sure that we're at the table with them. And in terms of the Ford Lightning, I think also our Leaf might have died as well, the Nissan Leaf, sort of.
Yeah.
Life support. Right. So, their fleet, I am concerned because I worked with them on their fleet projects, and they're definitely helping the bigger cities.
Right.
So, I think that, I think we should be talking to them about trying to get and making sure our board members, nudge, to make sure that we get representation.
Okay.
In terms of the trail maintenance, I'm very concerned that this UUT money is sitting there and not being used for maintenance and operations. I recognize that has been a contentious issue in the past. However, I will put forward that I think this is the time we are on life support, and this would be the time to use some of our UUT money. I heard my colleagues being concerned about using it for bridges, so I would carve out the bridges into a separate pot, not from. You didn't want it in the open space.
It's just a category. It's not
Right.
It's not eligible for open
I know.
space funding.
Right, but the UUT money to use it for trail maintenance. I also would hope that we could use the volunteer trail, not just internal Portola Valley trail maintenance crews, but also this trail, what are they called? That was the trail center. Thank you. To get some volunteer to help with our maintenance and operation costs on our trail system. Otherwise, I really appreciate what you put together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
I just wanted to commend Rebecca for this brilliant idea, this Lightning Ford to take care of our storage. I think that would be really exciting.
Yeah. I think this is a little more complicated problem,
Yeah.
but we can have that conversation at a separate time.
After you go, I have further reactions to what's been discussed after
Okay.
I spoke.
All right.
So
I don't have much. I mean, first of all, Tony, as always, thank you. On the court stuff, given the, back and forth, I think that we made the right decision just to kind of put that on hold for right now. I think the idea, if revenue enhancement passes and we get the real estate transfer tax, then I think we're going to be in a much better shape. And I've never heard from the council anything but support for this stuff. It's just the moment we don't have the money. So that makes a lot of sense to me. The storm drains is one area that does worry me. I realize that we don't have enough money to go out and do a full-fledged engineering study. But given that potentially next year could be a big year, I mean, you never know, but that's the current projection. I still wonder if we shouldn't be putting a little extra money aside And doing some more cursory, like maybe we just look at our major drains on the major streets. Something, it still makes me nervous. We had a conversation a couple months ago about this and it kind of got a little bit off course because we thought we could fund it a different way. But I guess I would still hope that we would put aside maybe a little bit more money there to do just some very preliminary stuff, not a full blown. I mean, I think we need the full blown. I think that's the right thing to do, but I would put that again with the revenue enhancement. But just some sort of,
Right.
looking in like they're not rusted. I mean, I don't know what I don't want to dictate the details, but I do feel like there's probably something we could do on the order of $20,000 or $30,000 just to give us some assurance on like some of the major crossings, even if we don't cover every drainage in town.
Right. And some of our gas tax money can be, and some of it is actually for storm drains as well.
Okay.
The ones that are in the right of way.
Okay.
So we have some funding there, but I share your concern about storm drains. It's, I think to me, it's number one with a bullet.
Yeah.
In regards to CIP and even more so than streets. Because if they fail, street's going to fail. So
wipe the street out. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I share your concern and yeah, I'll see if I can squeeze a little bit more money into storm
Okay.
drains.
Yeah, great. And then we can figure out exactly, reasonable way to approach it. So, okay. So Judith, you wanted to,
Rebecca wants
and
to go
there,
after me.
okay,
So,
sure.
So, look, I'm getting a little confused on what we're doing tonight, to be honest. Some of this is reopening stuff that we've discussed more substantively previously. So I want to be careful that we're all clear what we are and are not supposed to be doing tonight. Like deciding to put UUT on trails, to me, that's not the subject matter of tonight, although I'd be open to looking at that, at some point. So what is it, Catherine or Darcy, that we're supposed to be providing tonight?
Well, I was gonna say, I think this is discussion of CIP. It's-
Right, so we're just giving feedback. We're not
Yes.
needing to recommend anything.
Well, I would say you need to recommend things because right now we are finalizing the CIP which includes a plan and a budget, and they go together. And that would be presented to the council in its final draft at the first meeting in June and then presented for adoption at the second meeting in June. So we do need your feedback in any direction and,
Yeah.
and to know if that's the majority before we make any changes. So I think it might be beneficial to know what changes are you directing us to make explicitly. Now, something like the PCE grant, the detail in the CIP is not that granular. That would come back to you because of potentially of the expenditure amount, it would come back to you.
Okay.
And then I
That
would,
gives me enough to get a gist of it, because my concern is that we've got a lot for Tony and team to do. And I don't want to open up and compound the amount of work that needs to get done in order to meet those deadlines. So for me, all of these ideas are good to consider, but I would say unless it's something feasible that won't take away from other priority items such as the budget getting completed and the audits being completed, I would say put it, down the line rather than on this timeline. So that's my request, is to be upfront about how much time exploring some of this would take and say, can we deal with that now versus in the future? Just because we have to not hope for the best in terms of your bandwidth. You have to be pragmatic on your bandwidth. Similar on the storm drains, and the use of UUT funds. I suspect, but I don't know, that those are going to take a little bit of time. And my main concern is getting you what you need to do the budget and the audits in a timely fashion. So I would ask you to keep engaged with us. And then I agree on the courts in terms of postponing it, and want to reaffirm that I'd be open to reassessing that at the ballot measure. So those are all my.
And Judith, I would suggest that what we're trying to do tonight is give Tony a sense for the amounts for the buckets, not which fund it comes out of. I think that's what we're trying to decide. So like the PCE, that bucket's got money in it. How exactly that gets spent, I think that's a different question, and it's not a question here tonight. I brought up the storm drains because I actually think we need to put more money in that bucket. So that's the difference. It's not like, oh, we should spend it differently. It's, I think there's not enough money there. And what I'm hearing from Tony is potentially we have some gas tax money. So I just want to try to tease out, I think if we're suggesting, and we as a council can decide whether that's the right thing, but if we're suggesting to add more money to a CIP, that's tonight's discussion versus exactly how we're going to spend it. I don't think that needs to be for tonight. Does that help? Okay. All right. Rebecca, did you have further comments?
I did. I forgot one other item. I want to just sort of comment generally before I get to my request. I agree that stepping back, for example, from the courts is a good idea because, you know, new requests have come in and it makes sense to reevaluate them. Likewise, with the PCE grant, I happen to be in favor of kind of reevaluating. It never kind of went, we didn't have a sustainability committee to think about that. So there was no resident input. And then, and when you look at huge projects, I really think it's best to, you know, think through them in a way that you incorporate changes and plan future potential changes. You kind of do it at one time instead of the idea of having to rip something back up to fix something or to change something. So this is in the spirit of that. For the EV charging stations grant, where we have $381,000, and that's to put, I think, 3 chargers at, I believe it's planned for it's 7 chargers, but a number of them are planned for the corner of Alpine and Portola Road for the parking lot. So my suggestion or request is to consider reconfiguring that parking lot, taking up a small amount potentially of the Little People's Park and turn those parking spaces vertical so that they're on the same line with the parking space across the driveway in front of the hardware store. So that because the town has an enormous parking issue when it comes to
Rebecca, can I interrupt for a sec? I appreciate what you're doing here, but I feel like you're trying to talk about how we spend money that we've allocated for CIP. And tonight is really to talk about how much we're going to allocate, not how to use the money. So I feel like we're getting off track.
My concern is that the money that's allocated will be available for the however many charges are planned for that location. And we don't have additional money, which will probably be not huge, but we need to allocate if we redo that parking lot.
So my suggestion would be, why don't you have a conversation with Tony? Tony can, whoever ends up project managing this project can come back to us with a proposal on how to implement it. But I don't think that's tonight's. We're not talking about implementing.
Well, if we need another 20,000 for that, then that is kind of a request, right?
We won't know that tonight in case.
So, and respectfully, Rebecca, that parking lot, and the park is public, but that parking lot is private property. So, and the owner was very specific about where he wanted those EV chargers.
It's unfortunate.
Well, and I applaud your creativity. So, I mean, I'd say continue to look at it, but let's not try to solve that problem tonight. I think that's all I'm asking. So, thank you. Okay, anything else for Tony? All right. Tony, thank you very much. As always, appreciate you presenting to us. All right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. So, yes, it's 100%. Thank you for asking and for reminding me. So what I'd like to do is we're going to take a short 5-minute break and we will reconvene at, let's call it 8:40. Yep. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and we're going to move on to the regular agenda 7B. We're going to receive information and provide direction on a potential town charter. So Darcy, are you
Okay,
presenting?
yes, good evening.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, I'm making the presentation and I had immense help from town attorney Catherine Engberg. So she's also here to pitch in and answer questions, and her associate Lauren also provided a lot of support. It's a team effort, and Mr. McFarland. So I'll just start with the town council priorities. Like, why are we here? Number one priority is the town fiscal responsibility, long-term viability. We've been doing a lot of work on this actually for several years. This isn't just an idea that we're introducing tonight. So for those of you that have been following the conversation, it goes back a few years, and we have done a lot. We've done a lot of education. We've, as I mentioned previously, been working on a backlog of audits. We've worked on implementing the Christian Coast study. A lot is happening every day under Tony's leadership, and he's really reversed the ship, and it's sailing in the right direction. But one of the key things, if you look at the next slide, the infamous black line, we need a plan for the future for our long-term fiscal stability. As we've discussed with you, we predict at least $700,000 a year ongoing structural deficit, largely for reasons outside of our control. And we predict that in the following year, our reserves may fall below our newly established 20% minimum, and the black line of doom just keeps going down, and eventually our reserves will be fully depleted. And there's a structural deficit. So you know what that means, but essentially our expenses are outpacing our revenues, and we have very limited ability to grow our revenue. So you might recall that we had a lot of meetings on this last spring and last summer, and there was a key meeting in August 2025 where you reviewed some of the analysis that was done by our wonderful finance committee, and you requested that we proceed with a survey. That survey was done in September, and we present the results to you in November. And I'll just hit some of the high points here, but the community identified a strong be prepared for natural disasters here in town. They identified the need for prevention measures, evacuation planning, reliable communication systems, all things that we've been working on for many years, but more work is to be done, and some of it's expensive work. There was also feedback to protect the town autonomy and our own ability to make our local zoning and land use decisions as an incorporated community. The respondents do not want that authority to go to the county, which would be the case if the town lost its independent status. And the residents, who are very satisfied, over 90% satisfied with the town services, want to ensure that the town can continue delivering those local services without falling off the fiscal cliff. So this has led to us continuing to engage the community, updating council, and seeking direction on the town charter approach. And I'll explain a little bit, why that approach is what we're pursuing. And we got good feedback on that too from the community survey. About 60% support it. So the approach to the charter town is tied to an item that was mentioned tonight previously, the real property transfer tax. And that is applied only to the sale of property. It's much different than a parcel tax, and it's only paid by purchasers or sellers of those properties. And they determine who would pay the cost. It's not determined by us. And that is a locally generated, locally controlled funding source that would be a general tax that can be used for different purposes. However, the key thing and why we're here tonight is that the town is not authorized, as what we are now, a general law town, to adopt the RPTT because we don't have that authority under the state constitution. And so the town would need to adopt a charter, become officially a charter town in order to have that authority. So I'll break down the differences. Right now, we're a general law town with about 74% of the other cities and towns in California. We have to follow California state law, even on municipal affairs, which I'll talk about later. And we have limited authority over those constitutionally defined affairs. Right now, we do have a transfer tax, but we share it with the county, and it's only 55 cents per thousand. Again, we cannot adopt that locally controlled real property transfer tax, and the state legislature controls many local decisions. So the charter town, which is what we're proposed, would give us more local control over these very explicitly defined municipal affairs. It's actually pretty narrowly defined by both the Constitution and then the courts, who are allowed to make those interpretations, and they have been steadily churning out court cases. But we would have that authority, most importantly, to adopt that RPTT, and that would go entirely to the town or local control. And we would still be subject to U.S. California Constitution and to the state law on non-municipal matters. And important to note, this goes to a vote. The voters control the charter content, and only the voters can amend it in the future. So again, I mentioned we have majority of general law cities and towns. That's just the easy way to enact a city or town. 121, our charter, again, about 74% general law, 26% charter. There are a number of nearby charter cities that have a local tax component. Many of them in the recent years have switched over to be a charter city. And our local example here is San Mateo, but there's a lot of other communities. So staff's recommendation tonight, and we presented some examples in your packet, is a simple focused charter. We recommend it be focused, and I mentioned we're really doing this at this point, presenting to the voters to authorize the proposed RPTT, while otherwise we would recommend keeping Portola Valley subject to the general state law to keep this process simple, affordable, and on schedule. I walk you through the schedule in a little bit. So the charter will again convert the town from general law to charter status, authorize the town to levy an RPTT, keeping 100% of that RPTT revenue locally controlled. It would preserve our existing town governance structure. Our council mayor structure wouldn't change. It'd preserve our municipal code. And again, any future amendments, if we want to expand the scope, would be up to the voters. And important to note, the voters can also do an initiative process. So if the voters had some great idea locally, they can go through the initiative process to do that. So the charter won't do, as I said, won't change the town's form of government. You will all still have your extremely well-paid jobs. And we'd still have the 4-year election cycle and a rotating mayor. We wouldn't change anything in the municipal code, anything in our existing laws, and it wouldn't affect, based on our recommended model, public contracting, prevailing wage rules, housing laws, and it wouldn't change any local election procedures. We'd still, again, do things pretty much about the same. And I think if you look at the charter and you see our examples are 2 to 3 pages, you get the substance of, well, it doesn't change much. So we provided these 3 models of towns. 2 of them, El Cerrito and St. Helena, have the RPTT focus. We also gave you Truckee. I know it's a kind of an older version. It was hard to read. I apologize. We gave that to you as an example of a town charter, because I think when this conversation first started, people kept saying city charter, are we going to become a city? No, you are not. And so the Truckee example is an adopted example of a true town charter. So we wanted to give that to you. But El Cerrito and St. Helena are, again, very brief, 2 to 3 pages. They explicitly authorize the RPTT and home rule. El Cerrito preserves existing city government structure. It explicitly, maybe overly explicit, requires compliance with state laws on prevailing wages and collective bargaining. It explicitly does not alter the municipal code. St. Helena, we, on the staff level, prefer that a little bit more. It's very brief and streamlined. I think they got down to 2 pages. Every word matters. It's well written, and it's a little bit different framing of power over municipal affairs. It focuses narrowly on just the revenue authority with just very simple to read language and fewer specified constraints in El Cerrito. And Truckee, again, older model, but what we wanted to show here is it's a town, and they maintain deference to state general law with the exception of just a few limited areas. So again, you can see those examples in attachment 2, and we are looking for direction tonight. So here's our path to the ballot. And again, this is a council process largely until it gets placed on the ballot. If we proceed down this path, we would have 4 more meetings on this before the council consideration of a resolution to place this measure on the ballot. And so if direction is given tonight to proceed, at the next council meeting, May 13th, we'll have our first public hearing on this draft town charter, and you'll actually get the charter in final format. You'll have another meeting on June 24th. That's a second public hearing. You can make changes there. This isn't like an introduction and an adoption of an ordinance. You can make changes. It doesn't need to be recirculated at the second public hearing. And in July is when you'll do the heavy lifting. You'll review the final ballot measure language and the ordinance at your first meeting. And then the second meeting, you'd consider placing that measure on the ballot. The filing deadline is August 7th to submit the ballot measures to the county. That applies statewide. And then the election is November 3rd. And if it were approved by a 50% plus one majority vote, then it would take effect on January 1st. So again, in conclusion, staff is recommending that you look at our example charters, you give us direction to prepare this and continue down the path to the November 3rd election. That ballot measure would be a single ballot measure. And again, we'll be talking about that more at future meetings, but it would include the town charter and then the proposed real property transfer tax. But we'll talk about the exact real property transfer tax and the rate at a later meeting. So we're not here to talk about that tonight. And again, we're looking for council direction to confirm support to continue on this path, providing direction on the type and content of the proposed charter, simple focused versus more expansive, confirm the timeline, and then provide any additional direction. So council's questions tonight, and I'm happy to leave this up, is which sample charter should we replicate? El Cerrito, St. Helena, or Truckee? And you can also direct us to a hybrid model to incorporate pieces of it. If you want any additional content, now's the time to direct us. But staff strongly recommend is the brief and narrowly focused charter to keep this process simple and affordable and on schedule. And that's all we have, but happy to leave the other slide up here to frame the conversation as we move forward.
Thank you, Darcy. So are there questions for Darcy? We'll do questions, then I'll open it to the public and then we'll discussion. Ellen, what do you think? You want to start? Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Because I do go first.
Go ahead. You're going first. I know. I got you.
I have a question about the fiscal impact. Because my understanding is obviously if we were to do a simpler charter, I am concerned about legal fees, that every time that we would have to reinvent the wheel and we would incur greater legal fees. So that's my question.
So in terms of the concern that, would this be when the charter is, if it's amended in the future or?
Obviously charter cities are more independent and get to recreate the wheel as they like, right? Which to me means it's more expensive because instead of following state code, right? And so that's, are we going to possibly be incurring greater legal costs down the road?
I see the question. So staff's recommendation is to move forward with the narrowest possible charter that would authorize the RPTT, but would otherwise follow state law. And so we would not be reinventing the wheel in terms of how elections are processed or council qualifications or how ordinances are adopted, but rather the charter would be express. And actually, I think St. Helena is a good model for this. It's express in that except for otherwise stated in the charter, this town would follow state law.
Great. Okay. That was let me just make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. I just can't remember Could I, and this isn't for Catherine, when the finance committee was tasked with looking at the options, I cannot remember what their recommendations were. Could you guys remind me?
I mean, I can speak to that. I mean, they didn't make a recommendation. We asked them to research different topics and they came back. They talked about partial tax, real estate transfer tax, unincorporation. There were a couple more. Well, UUT, but we never really, I don't think we ever made UUT, like there was never enough money there to make that work. And annexation. Those were basically, but there was no recommendation per se. They were tasked with sort of researching it and sort of doing pros and cons.
Okay, that's what I remember the pros and cons. I just couldn't remember the recommendations. So, okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mary, do you want to use your mic?
This shares documentary for tax with county, 55 cents per 1,000. Does that change? And why did you mention that on that particular chart? Under general law town current, do we lose that if we become a charter town?
We would
Why did you mention it?
We're going to replace it. That's the whole idea.
It's mentioned because right
It's
now,
different thing.
that is what we are locked into and we cannot change it. So that's what a general law city has and that's all we get. We can't change it.
Yeah, I realize that, but do we lose that when we change?
No,
The answer is no. Thank you.
for the 55 cents, or it's $1.10 right now, split between the county.
Right.
County will still get is 55 cents. We'll get whatever rate
Right,
approved.
right. But we don't lose that. Thank you.
So do you mind if I follow up just to make sure I understand? Are you saying that if we picked a number, $8 per 1,000, we get that plus 55 cents? Or it's in place of the 55 cents?
We're increasing from 55 cents to $8.
Right. So,
Example.
so does that, it's not, you don't get to add the two together. Yeah, it's just we're going to come up with a new number, which would be our number.
It'll be $8. No, the rate will be $8.55. 55 cents going to the county, $8 coming to the county.
Yeah. I mean, they'll still get theirs. The county still will get theirs. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Judith?
Sure. All three of the examples that you have are pretty short. None of these are going on and on. And they're differently phrased. So I'm looking at this summary slide. First, can you confirm St. Helena says it was never adopted? Did it have anything to do, what was the reason for the non-adoption?
Well, it didn't. 50% plus one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. And what is an example of what El Cerritos would do? Like it says your citation here about prevailing wage and labor practice protections apply. Like why? Like I'm in favor of something very simple generally, but I'm trying to look at these slight differences and I don't see them being huge differences. Is that a wrong way of looking at it? In other words, El Cerrito doesn't accomplish a lot more. It has a few things it accomplishes relative to St. Helena.
I agree. I would say the El Cerrito one is a bit wordier. It goes like for the prevailing wage section, it just says the city shall comply with the laws of the state of California with respect to prevailing wage. But I don't know that it necessarily needed to say that because it could just say, it's complying with the law of the state of California for everything other than the things that it is adopting the charter for.
And for my last question is St. Helena's, even that, like, do you even have to state the form of government? Like, I assume that's a central part, but is that the default is council manager or does that, like, what of St. Helena's is like optional?
Yeah, I actually do want to do some research on that. I would note that in St. Helena, they have an interesting setup where they have an elected mayor who serves a 2-year term. So I suspect that they wanted to expressly put that into the charter because it is unusual and unique to, well, not unique, but it is unusual.
So the main operative provision for like what's going to be different is, if you look at St. Helena, is like the powers of the city for local taxation and assessment. That's the main
Agreed.
bang for the buck.
Yes.
On that. Okay, thank you.
Rebecca?
To follow up on Judith's question, when I read the El Cerrito charter, it seems like they start with essentially taking on all charter city municipal affairs, and then they go through the ones that they go through in detail all the ones that they're not planning to actually take on, and they're going to go send them back to general law. So that's why they go into the labor stuff, the election stuff. Does it make it easier if you start out by claiming everything? Does it make future to amend the charter in the future if you want to then take on a new municipal responsibility that in addition to the financial one? Or does it just, if you wanted to amend the charter in the future, you just have to add more responsibilities?
Yeah, I would say it wouldn't necessarily make it any easier to amend it. I mean, I think it could be drafted, the amendment, and any amendment could be drafted to make sure it's consistent with the existing charter. And then, of course, the most challenging part about a charter amendment is then it would have to go on the ballot and get voter approval.
Because when I look at St. Helena, just to confirm, they are really, they're 200, they're Article 200 or whatever it is, article really is specific to taxation. They don't take on, they don't allow themselves any other municipal, is that correct reading of that? Any other municipal affairs?
Yes.
And would there be any benefit to have the initial statement? Well, keeping it simple like this, but instead of having it just taxation, to kind of add the possibility of taking on additional municipal affairs.
I guess I'd want to think about that a little bit more if that was something that the council wanted to have some sort of a statement of purpose. I don't know if we know exactly the genesis of this charter, if there was input. I mean, it had to go through the public hearing process, of course, so it could be that this language was recommended by residents. But yeah, I think maybe we'd want to think about whether there's any actual benefit. I mean, there could be a downside in that it might create a little bit more confusion. We say this is very simple, but then what does this language mean? That's broad. So those are some things to weigh.
Okay, thank you.
So I just wanted to confirm this. So my reading when I look at this and help me understand this is, if you want to make changes, you just do a new charter effective. I mean, that's what amending the charter means. You can write a completely new charter if you want to quote unquote amend it. There's no benefit to trying to prejudge amendments, right? I mean, it's a vote regardless.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Regardless, it would need to vote of the people.
So then my question, I mean, generally I can see the St. Helena one's, pretty clean. I looked at the Truckee one. There's revenue retention, there's a bunch of stuff. All of that stuff is basically implied. I mean, I know, sir, on the real estate transfer tax, we're saying it stays locally. Is revenue retention, because it seems it's more broadly, it says any revenues raised or collected by the town. Is there anything in general law? I mean, is that effectively equal to general law anyway? Or it seems, I mean, because that seems pretty broad. That's, any revenues.
Yeah, this does look pretty much similar to general law. I mean, I will say this, this Truckee one is a bit outdated, but not outdated. It's 1995. It's a bit older. I would say we probably wouldn't have included it as an example, except for the fact that Truckee is a town and the government code refers to charter cities, and really did want to emphasize for the council and the community that there are also charter towns. So that was really the primary reason. I actually did try to dig a little bit into just Truckee's their website to see what have they said they've actually used this charter to do that's outside of the norm. And they did actually reference the flexibility regarding public work contracting, that they have established some standards, procedures, et cetera, regarding bidding that they claim in their on their website and some of their council materials that has expedited the production of affordable housing.
Okay. So that would sort
That
of
was
be-
one thing they highlighted. I couldn't find anything else in terms of the use of the charter for other aspects of their local government.
Great. And I think that you got to the heart of my question, which is what's the value of this charter? And so it sounds like that might be one pot. Great. Thank you. Okay. With that, let me go to public comment. We have one hand in the schoolhouse, so please come up to the mic. Welcome back, Bob.
Topic. I was listening to it.
Make sure you speak into the mic.
I was listening to the conversation from two perspectives. One of them is I'm interested in how the vote goes November 3rd, and then as a resident and how it's going to affect me. And so in listening to what your description have been, it seems to me that the first thing that you need to look at, is it workable? Is it something that you can operate the town with the council that you have and operate in a way that you have done it historically? And so to me, that would be the first question I'd ask. The second question, is it simple? And the reason I would want it simple is the more things you put in there, the more targets you have for people not to vote for what you want. And so to me, the simpler, the better. And given the choices I saw, now I did look through the whole list, but I didn't read them all. But I went through the whole list, and to me, the St. Helena made much more sense because there was nothing to shoot at. There was nothing, no target that somebody would say, we shouldn't have that, or we should have something wildly different. As soon as you put in wages, or you put in housing, or you put in something else, to me, it complicates the issue and it gives people a reason not to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will go online. Dave Cardinal, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, after a couple of years of paying pretty close attention to our finances, the finance committee and the town council, I think all roads lead to the real property transfer tax. I don't see anything else that's going to get us to where we need to be. And as I think others have mentioned, keeping it super simple and not messing up the charter with complex issues is a good idea. And realistically, anyone who wants to support the future of this town should be for it. It's not life and death, but really, if we want to have a town with services and the kind of environment we want, this is it. So I'm all on board, and I would just, as others have said, keep it simple and try and get it passed in November. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? So nobody in the schoolhouse? Up, Christy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to listen to MROSD and this meeting at the same time. It's very difficult. So I'm hoping as the Hawthorns comes closer that you're able to separate the meetings with different times. So the one thing I want to say about this subject is to highly consider the percentage you're considering if you want it to pass. and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? All right, I don't see any other hands in the schoolhouse. I don't see hands online, so I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. What do you think, Helen? You want to lead us off again? You did such a great job last time. Thank you. That's good. I liked it.
So I'm just gonna say, obviously, you know, I'm not happy that we are going towards a tax, right? But I absolutely want Portola Valley to remain, to continue. And I do believe doing the simplest possible. So I support the St. Helena option. But it's a bitter pill to me that we're headed in this direction at all. It makes me sad. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Simply, I'm supportive of the idea of becoming a charter town. I do think the St. Helena, although it was not my favorite, I did hear the presentation at the League of Cities before they brought it to the vote and after they brought it to the vote. So I feel sort of bonded with St. Helena on this. And I suppose I know more about it, and they were extremely thoughtful about it. If that doesn't stand in anybody else's way, I still would be in support of doing the St. Helena.
Okay, thank you. Judith?
Yeah, simple is best. I would look at St. Helena and pressure test whether you need Article 4 because they were trying to do something we're not going to be trying to do in terms of separately elected mayor, et cetera. But that's a legal question for me. What is the minimum we need? And, for the record, there's been a long road that the town's embarked on through a lot of deliberation. I don't want to repeat all of that. I think this is the right way forward for our town at this point. Thanks.
Thank you. Rebecca?
I do agree that simple is best, and St. Helena certainly has the simplest and the most direct, and it limits it to local taxation, which is what we need. And I think we all have to agree that and face the reality that our revenues are just not keeping up with our expenses. And if we would like to be able to fund our recreation and our staff and our safety, then we do have to figure out revenue that works, that pays for all these things, that services that people need and want. So I would support the simplest with the city of Helena, St. Helena.
Thank you. So I would also strongly support the charter. I mean, we have a structural deficit, no doubt about that. And if we don't do something, then we potentially just get absorbed by the county. And I don't think that's an acceptable alternative. So I'm definitely in favor of charter city. I would say, and I agree with Judith, unless Article 4 is necessary, I lead it. It seemed like if we can do all that under general law, which we're doing today, I don't know why we're adding that paragraph. Because again, I would expect that people are going to look at this and we say, what is a charter city? And the fact it can be, a page long basically, and you get the gist of what's there, that makes a lot of. So I think we're on the right track. So I appreciate this presentation. Do you guys need anything else from us? Okay.
We'll proceed May 13th, public hearing number 1.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me move back up to the top of the agenda. Come on. All right. So that closes out the regular agenda. So now we're going to move to Council Subcommittee, Liaison Committee, and Regional Agency reports. In addition to the written ones that have been submitted, are there any additions Judith?
So I was liaison to the Open Space Committee. You heard public comment at the beginning. The audio was terrible, so unfortunately I didn't hear I couldn't get in. So I think we've solved that problem, but it was an important meeting, and it's disappointing that we can't really have a viable recording. That being said, the Open Space Committee did draft a letter outlining concerns to the town council of the plans being considered for the Hawthorns. So they did a lot of background research. They signed it unanimously. They would like the town to consider the issues before Mid-Penn option 9 and 10, and they're concerned that Mid-Penn on May 13th is going to start a process for a SEQRA, define the project for purposes of SEQA and be off and running. And essentially, without more detail, they're wondering what is the town's role in that. So I call that out. It's for, my understanding is it's for the mayor to consider agendizing, so I don't want to get into the details of it. But I will note that Mary and I are on a subcommittee to appoint an independent attorney because our town attorney's firm is conflicted out of advising on the Hawthorns. So we have made outreach over many months for continuing to do that. I'll just leave it there because I'm not sure what level, we can't discuss it, but it's more of a heads up that recording wasn't very effective for people to go back and look at. So, or listen to rather. And yet there's May 13th deadline that they're pointing out that they want people to be thinking through the town's role in that.
Okay, thank you. Any other on this side, other verbal reports? No, okay. Ellen? Yeah, please.
This is an important one. I'm sorry I didn't get this written up, but as many of you know, Connect Bay Area Transit Plan, I heard presentation on this at CCAG as well as commute.org. This will be on the November ballot. They're circulating signatures right now. If it does not pass, while Portola Valley does not have, any Caltrain BART stations, it would cut from every 15 minutes to 1 hour during peak times for trains, no weekend service, and station closures if this does not pass. If it does pass, it's $50 million to the county annually. It's a sales tax. The reason I really wanted to bring this up is I am very concerned because if our community members are voting for it, it's a sales tax. The way they are doing outreach right now is public money to roads and facilities with public transportation facilities, which we have very limited. So to me, this is very much somewhat of a tax without representation. Right? So what the Transportation Authority for San Mateo County and what I would recommend this body consider, if we need to agendize it, which I think we would need to, would be to do some sort of letter in conjunction with the smaller towns like Woodside, Half Moon Bay, maybe Colma, because what the Transportation Authority has done with like Measure W and Measure A money is that they have created smaller pots of money for the smaller towns and a smaller match when they want to go for grant money. And I feel like it would behoove Portola Valley and other smaller municipalities to do something similar. Because, if, and it is a question of whether this Connect Bay Area Transit Plan taxation measure will pass. but it would impact adversely everyone's traffic situation to lose our public transportation corridors. So I did want to raise that. I don't know the process. I'm assuming it would need to be agendized, which would be, up to the mayor. But I wanted to raise that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if I could suggest, maybe you could work with another colleague and write a colleague's memo, have some details, and then we could agendize that. Okay,
So, so would you like the colleague memo to be agendized, or do you want an item because?
yeah, the colleague's memo. I want something, and because if we just agendize it, then it becomes a staff thing. But if the colleague's memo, you can work with another colleague to write up what you think that stuff is, then it will come before the council and we'll go through our usual process.
Okay, and it is a tight timeline, so just be aware of that too.
Okay. All right, well, maybe we could talk more, but great, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, now let me open up to public comment. Anybody in the room want to speak on the reports? Anybody online? Pause for just a moment. All right, I don't see hands up in the schoolhouse. I don't see hands up online. So I'm going to close that item and move to adjournment.
Seconded.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.